Okay, are we ready? Yes, do we have full attention? We're all recharged after the cup of tea. Yes, fantastic. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to this fabulous conference. I always feel overjoyed when I'm in a room like this full of women. It just reinforces that we are getting there, we are a force to reckon with, and we are starting to invest in ourselves. I'm also really in admiration of the conference theme, which is Pragnana Prayatna, conscious attempts, CA abbreviated, better than come again. but, uh, but, I want to start one small story on that before we go to the real theme. Once Panini, you all know Muni Panini, right? He went to one palmist for getting his hand read. And the palmist said, "You are fated to be an illiterate fool, and education is missing in your palm." So then Panini asked him, saying that, "Where is the line of education?" Then the palmist said, "This is where it is." He took a knife and he cut his hand on that thing and he said, "Now I have the line." After that, he said, "I have to be educated." So he was an illiterate at that time. He went, he studied grammar. He wrote this book called Ashtadhyaya, which is the authority in Sanskrit grammar even today, 2500 years after Muni Panini lived. Now, that is really prayatna. And Pragyana Prayatna is the secret recipe to success. It is the Prayatna of the ISRO scientists that we have Pragyan, on the moon right now. From a country that is still called the country of snake charmers in Western world, they still make those images, and we are the first to land on the south side of the moon. So, with that spirit, I want to start my speech on intrapreneurship, which is unleashing your entrepreneurial spirit at work. What is intrapreneurship? That we'll get to that in a bit, but I want to start at the very beginning, like that Sound of Music song. The story of the first woman chartered accountant of our country. I had the honor of delivering her memorial lecture in the month of July in Chennai. Lady Shivabogam Ramaswamy. I know many of you may already know her story, and this is a bit of a repeat, but she is the best example of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and therefore I can't start the speech without talking about her. She fought in the freedom struggle, in the civil disobedience movement, and then she went to jail. After that, she came out of jail and she said, "I want to do CA." Only men used to do CA at that point in time. She said, "I want to do CA." She did the course, and after that, she wanted to start practice. And then the British government passed a law saying that somebody who had been imprisoned and has gone to jail cannot practice. And so she went to the court. This is in 1937. It's not in today's time. In 1937, we were still, we weren't even an independent country. And she went to the court. She filed a writ. She got that act passed by the British government quashed and started her private practice as a chartered accountant in 1937. That was Lady Shivabogam for you, the entrepreneur. Then the Lady Shivabogam, the intrapreneur, she was the first woman to lead the South India Regional Council of ICAI. She was the chairman and stayed for 3 straight years from 1955 to 58. No male or female have held that post for so long till date. She established the award for the best lady candidate in CA examination. That award is given till date. In 1956, she created another record. She created the first ever regional conference of SIRC. So the foundation of all these conferences she laid. And she was active in various activities of ICAI, including the 4th conference of the Asian and Pacific accountants held in New Delhi in 1965. As a lady CA, she represented. During her leadership, we talk about speakers who come and speak in our forums. During her leadership, she got people like the Vice President at that time, S. Radhakrishnan, Diwan of Travancore, C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. She got various politicians, freedom fighters, leaders to come to SIRC and inspire people to become leaders. So that was Lady Shivabogam, a true intrapreneur, when she took the role of the chairman of SIRC. Till date, we have not had a female chairperson, and I'm very, very excited for our dear vice chairperson to be able to step into those shoes very soon. She will be then, maybe it has taken 50 years, but we are getting there. With that, I want to move on to, what is on intrapreneurship. Now, I tried to look up this definition, and I think the best definition I found was in one Stanford article. It said intrapreneurship is nothing but entrepreneurship, but you take less risks and you don't use your own money. So something of that sort. But in the same article, what really stood out for me, what are the characters of an intrapreneur? So if you see curiosity, motivation, passion, adaptability, flexibility. Now, all of these things are very natural. Now, let's take a step back and see how, our ancestors used to live. Go back, my father still, he has his roots in his village. And if you find, whenever we go on vacation, we see that still their life starts with, say, morning, there'll be the cow, you'll milk the cow, you'll use the milk, but you'll trade the milk. Then there will be some activity, either agriculture or there'll be an artisan. You will do something of your own. You will go and market that produce, and then you will put in your capital, you will create some outcome, you will sell those goods. That is how all of us, if you look back into our ancestors, they will be entrepreneurs. Now we are looking at saying, I am the first entrepreneur in my family. No, you are maybe a last in a line of entrepreneurs from a very long time. Maybe you just haven't kept that memory. So it is very natural for us. It's in our DNA. Entrepreneurship, being able to create value, that's all there in our DNA. So if you take an unbiased view, we are entrepreneurs, but we have to bring that spirit to life, and very few do that today. And I want to take a small example here, Kalpana Morparia. When I was awarded this award by Economic Times in the top 50 young leaders, at that time one of the jury members was Kalpana Morparia, and at that time I had the opportunity of going to Bombay to collect the award and listening to her, and that's when I first heard this term called intrapreneur. And she said that, all my life I have worked for companies, but I think I am the biggest entrepreneur because I have always taken every job that I have done as an entrepreneur, as if it's my own business, as if it's my own money. And, her accomplishments are known to all, but really she was the person that she was instrumental in merging ICICI and ICICI Bank and creating the second largest banking structure in the country. She was named the 50 most powerful women by Fortune magazine in 2008. And the best part of that is she always says that being a powerful woman, being an entrepreneur, being someone who is of influence, the biggest advantage of that, it allows you to make a difference to other people. So really, for us to unleash that spirit of intrapreneurship or entrepreneurship in us is a journey not just for ourselves, but for a lot of people who are following us. Now, then how do you succeed as an entrepreneur? What is success as an intrapreneur? I'm using these terms interchangeably because they are interchangeable. Whether you are running your own practice or you are working in an organization and you are working to a certain objectives of the organization, you are an entrepreneur. Whether you call yourself an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur by your DNA, and how do you bring it up? So, are we ready? Now that's the question. I want to take, in the past few months, I've just listed down how many appointments of women have happened as CFOs All of them, I don't think they would have started, on a day when some consultant would have called them and said, the CFO job is there, so do you want to come and take this job? And then they would have said, now my time has come. Now I will be the entrepreneur in the company and therefore I'm going to start. That's not how each of them would have started. They would have started at a very early stage when they started their career, that I want to be a leader, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be able to take charge of my business and deliver, and that's how they've got there. And it is very inspiring and interesting for me, because I was researching some statistics about people say normally only 3% of the women are CFOs, but in 2002, 28% of the CFOs who were appointed in the US were women. There was a study which said 34% of the CFOs of small and medium companies were women. And you come closer home, out of the CAs who graduated in November 22, 44% were women. So we are a rising army, and we are a force to reckon with. And we are entrepreneurs. And I'm going to keep saying that the world is for us to conquer. Having said that, we are not clones to men. Many times when we land in work environments, we think that we have to be like the other men, the way they believe, the way they act, what we see as a design for success, or what we see the men do. Now, but if you look at it, what women bring to the table, which is very unique, I call them superpowers. There are many superpowers, but I'm going to talk about 4 of them which make us better entrepreneurs. Now, in a way, and I know it's a little sad to say this, but in a way the society puts a lot of pressure on men to be the breadwinners of the family and to have a job, and they look at women as you can have the job. It's very sad, but if you look at it, you flip it around, what it means is that you are working for yourself. You're working because you want to express. You're working because you have a great value to add, and that value is respected. So for me, I will call that a superpower. And we bring that balance into work because we don't look at ourselves as an employee. We look at ourselves as a sister, daughter, wife, mother. Somebody was saying sister-in-law. We look at ourselves and also as someone at work. So we look at ourselves with a very multi-dimensional balance. So that is a very unique perspective. We are able to look at things from multiple angles. That strength that superpower we got, are we bringing that to the table, or are we just going with the same thing, I have to do this, I have to complete this audit, so I will complete this audit, I will sign the books of accounts, I've seen my signature at the end of the paper, I'm done. No, have you understood the company? Have you looked at what are the various factors that are influencing that industry? Have you researched about it? How many times have you sat across the CFO of the company and have said that, maybe you're not doing this correctly? So I'll give an example. Our cost auditor, again, a lady, it's a partnership firm, but the partner who works with us is a lady, and she came to me last month, and she sat down and she said, look, I've done your cost audit, I've signed your books, your board is cleared, but will you give me half an hour? I said, fine, no, let's catch up, because cost audit, and guilty, but we don't take it so seriously. It is, we let it get done, but she said, give me that half an hour. And then she sat across the table and she said, look, you are thinking these businesses are profitable, but I don't think you're looking at it correctly. If you actually apply this rationale and if you look at it, these 3 businesses are not making money for you. And these are the businesses, these are the service lines that are growing at 20%. And I think these 3 factors are contributing to it. It was a very meaningful conversation that started as a half-an-hour meeting that went on for 3 hours. And I really felt that, what I have not been able to catch as a CFO looking at these numbers every day, day in, day out, over the past 2 years, she is caught in that cost audit. But it was not required for her to do that. She just had to sign that books and, move on to the next client. But that's really the multi-dimensional approach that women bring to the table. And are you expressing it and bringing it to the table in everything you do, is the question for you. The other piece is resilience. Many times when somebody falls sick at home, naturally we are the people who put our hands up and say we'll take care. The family member is in pain. The person is very close to you. It kills you when you see your family member in pain, but you still take care. You take care with a smile on your face. You don't make them feel that they are ill. You don't make them feel that you are taking an extra load taking care of them. Why? Because that resilience is very natural. That's a superpower. And are we able to bring that superpower to work? Are we able to show that resilience at work? Are we giving up too soon? Questions for us. The stretch is very natural to us. I want to, I think last week was Janmashtami, next week is Ganesh Chaturthi, and in most times you don't get vacations for, many Indian festivals, because there are so many of them. Companies choose some 10 festivals and the rest of them are working days. We still end up going to office. You still do a full tough day's job, and then you come back home and you put that Krishnar Kal for Janmashtami. Why do you do that? Because you can take that stretch. You can do that 120%. It comes very natural to you. And you feel happy coming and making that Shide and doing that, doing that prasadam and seeing your family eat. That's really who you are. Are you able to bring that superpower to work, to become the entrepreneur that you can be? Question. The final one is emotional energy. I think that's the strongest part of women. I feel the passion we bring, we give it all to make it work. And here, I want to take one small example in the room. CA Divya, I think she's an entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur. She's got few weeks to go for her delivery, and she's still here. She was mentioning to me this is her 8th conference, and she has been part of every conference committee. Now, that's emotional energy. You're here because you want to be here. And that's something that's there with all of us. So are we bringing it to our workplace? Are we using that to unleash the entrepreneur in us? So that's the question. So I want to leave this slide with all of us saying we have the superpower. And are we able to bring that superpower to work? Now I want to take a little detour and go to, another inspiration, Tessie Thomas. She's called the Missile Woman of India, though she doesn't like that title, I'm told. She was one of the first engineers in India to develop RFID technology. She was also the first woman to be inducted into the Aeronautical Society and the first ever woman scientist to head a missile project in India, has an honorary doctorate in engineering from MIT. But if you read about her, and you have so much content about her online, the big thing that people call out about her is that she will always speak for her point of view. She will always make her point come across. If a particular initiative fails, she'll keep trying till she gets success. So that is entrepreneurship. Working in one government organization with thousands of constraints, and as a woman, and leading a missile program. And there she is, known for her courage, Tessie Thomas. Now coming back to the entrepreneur in you. Now I want to again get to a story. I like telling stories. I believe stories are a good way to remember. Many times I go and speak in these conferences, and then at the end of it, people neither remember me nor they remember the content, but they remember saying, I remember that story you told. So some of the stories stay. So with that, I do want to talk about the story of a white rabbit. There was this poor man, very hardworking, very pious, very, you can put whatever adjectives you want. And he was going into his field, and then there was this fairy that came and stood in front of him, and she said, look, you've been very good, and I'm going to give you all the riches in your field. You have rubies, diamonds, everything is in your field. You can go and take those riches. But when you walk into the field, you can't think of the white rabbit. The minute she told him, you can't think about the white rabbit, that is what first thing he thought about when he walked into the field. So that's what happens to us as people. In our mind, we talk about organization, bureaucracy, family situation, boss, constraints, work-life balance, all the white rabbits, and they're all real. Maybe he actually saw a white rabbit, we don't know. But then these constraints, these white rabbits are those that are taking away from us those rubies and riches and everything that is there behind for us to reach. And so I want to talk about some of the common white rabbits. There are many, and I think you're having panel later today to discuss some more themes on this, but I have picked up some white rabbits that I want to talk about. The first one being, why do we fail? The constraint tag. Now, this is very common. We say you have location constraint, you have timing constraint, you have, you have to do balance two things. You have some family member who is ill, you're taking care of that. So that's a constraint. So I'm not saying that these constraints you can do away with. They exist. But just because there are constraints that we are working with, don't shy away from doing something that is difficult, uncertain. You don't shy away from doing projects that are meaningful. Many times I have women who come to me and who say that, I'm taking care of someone in my family, so I cannot take a role in controllership that expects you to, stretch on month ends. So I ask them, say, look, it's your own choice, and all of us are right with our own choices, and there's nothing wrong. But if you want to become a CFO at some point in time, an exposure in controllership is important. Without knowing how to do hardcore accounting, Ind AS, etc., you cannot become a CFO. So are you really letting this go? And if you are letting this go, then that's your choice. But many times, I'm not saying that it's all easy, it can be crackable. But are we taking the mental energy to look at it? Now, I want to take another small story here. This is the story of Tyrone Boaks. Can you guess the average height of a basketball player? Michael Jordan 6'2", Magic Johnson 6'9". Tyrone was 5'3". He was short. He was passionate about basketball. So when he started wanting to play basketball, people said, look, you are not NBA material, you'll never crack it. But what he lacked in height, he made up in stamina, explosiveness. He used to be explosive on the court, speed, and all of it is built. And it's not like, he came into the court with equal playing with Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson put his hand up and he can touch the thing. He didn't come into the court with equal level playing. But then he came with certain strengths that only he could possess. And all of us have that in us. I have seen many times the accounting notes that the girls in my team write are far more well researched than the guys, because the guy, and I have no offense here, and I'm not stereotyping, I'm just giving a little more empirical view. When people come to me with notes, because women want to do a good job, so they don't stop with writing that particular accounting interpretation, but they will go do research. They will read up other companies who have done similar, they'll read up annual reports, see other notes of accounts where similar interpretation has been taken, and they'll come with examples to say, this was done, this was done, this was done, so we can also do this. Now, that kind of intensity I see in my experience, maybe, without stereotyping, more often in women than in men. Now, that's a superpower. That's something that you bring to the table. Now, that's what is help. Maybe you then come and tell me that I can do this in controllership, but I can't stay, till next day morning on a month close. You figure, I will still go out of the way to keep you in your team because you helped me get Deloitte. There was someone from Deloitte here. Get Deloitte sign my books better. So, that is that really is your superpower. And if you're compensating me with that kind of superpower, maybe I'm going to be more flexible in finding solutions for you. So the constraint tag, there's one more aspect to the constraint tag which I want to talk about before we move to the next theme, which is travel. Now, this is the most contested topic where people say work from home, work from wherever. But I feel that travel is a necessary evil. If you don't travel, if you're not meeting people, if you're not, see, it's not just about you can always meet people on a Zoom call, but when you go into locations, when you do, you get a perspective which is, there are many softer aspects of travel. So when my son was, I think 3 years old or something, and then I got a 2 months project in Malaysia, And then it was a very important project, and I thought it's important to be able to deliver. Then I said, fine, I don't want to leave this project behind. I can't do every project that comes like that, but this one was important for me. So then I told my mom and dad, I said, pack up your bags, I'll pay for your ticket, come with me to Malaysia. We took a house there, we stayed there, and 2 months the project was so meaningful for me. And also obviously it was more expensive, and at that time, this is, I'm talking about 15 years back, flight tickets were not so cheap. And but it maybe I paid some 6-9 months of my salary for the trip. But it was worth it. I think some of those decisions that I have made in my life have always made me a better professional, given me better exposure, given me greater ability to create value. See, all of us, how we come together, each of us are unique, different, and the way we come together is very amorphous, and lot of inputs go into that, and how we develop our personalities is very important. Now, with that, I want to move to the next one, which is the sharpening the saw. And I'm very happy that all of you have taken a Saturday off and you're spending here investing in yourself. But I want to ask you a few questions here. How many of you attended a technical training in the past 3 months? Okay. Next question. How many of you reached out to a coach or a mentor in the past 6 months or 1 year? Sat down and had a conversation on your career, your professional development? Great. How many of you read a book in the last 3 weeks? That's good. That's good, that's good. And there's no judgment here. These are just reflections. How many of you wrote a paper, a technical paper, a lecture or a paper or an opinion or an interpretation, and published it in the last 1 year? Yeah. No, I'm not going to expand this point any further. I'm just leaving this with you. If you want to be entrepreneurs, and I want to also confess that 3 out of these 4 things I have done in the last 3 months. 1 I have not done, but I want to confess, but I'm writing my paper. It will publish next month. So, but then you have to introspect for yourself. Are you doing enough for yourself to sharpen your saw? To be that person that you want to be, that entrepreneur that you want to be. This is the last point in this. There are many themes on this, but this is one thing I see very, very common in women, which is leaving before you leave. And this, I have picked, this is not my terminology, I've picked this from the book Lean In. And I have seen that very often in my career. The minute women get married, they already start thinking, saying, how should I scale down my career? I've had people who are, who I sit down to ask a next role conversation. When I sit across saying, you've done this role very well, let us go to the next role, let's talk about it. And she will say, oh, but my parents are looking for marriage, so I want to see where my marriage is going before I look at my next role. I tell them, you've not even found the boy. I mean, your career is there, you're doing well. Now, why are you leaving before you leave? And this is not about leaving, it's what is in the mind. In your mind, you start pulling back. In your mind, you start thinking that I have to scale down. In your mind, you start withdrawing. The minute you withdraw in the mind, the battle is lost. Physically, whether you do it, you don't do it, you may still be working till, you may till the last day of your break, you may be working. But mentally, you are not there. You're not growing. Who are you working for? If you think you're working for your boss, your manager, your salary, or, you're not working for anybody. You're working for yourself. You're working to become a better professional. You're working to be someone tomorrow that you're not today. And the minute you withdraw in your mind, you're not getting better. You are just coming to work, doing it as a task, and going back. That's going to create no value. So I want to leave this slide with a small note saying, see, while I'm trying, I may be sounding very, like trivializing. I'm not trivializing. No, life is very difficult. And especially, there are just so many constraints that we face with, and they're not simple. We have many battles to fight. Now, the only thought I want to leave with you is, do you want to be a tea bag or a salt bag? When you are dropped in a hot cup of water, what do you create? That is what I want to leave you with, and how you want to work through those constraints. The next part is ambition, and this is a slide I kind of have presented before also, but something that I am very passionate about talking. So if you've heard me talk about this in another forum and it's a repeat for you, I'm giving you 5 minutes snooze time. You can wake up after 5 minutes. There is a Harvard study where by Anna Fels, which asks, saying, do women lack ambition? She's a very well thought through study, and you can look it up. It's available. Everything is available on Google these days. For men, ambition is considered to be necessary and desirable part of life. For women, however, ambition is associated with egotism, self-aggrandization, and manipulation. In childhood, they uncovered that girls are clear about their aspiration. But later in life, there are dramatic differences. When women and men reconfigure their careers, women quickly abandon their goals. They are demure when they are praised of their achievement. When you actually meet a leading woman and you tell her, you've done so well for yourself, she will say that I was lucky. And it's okay. It's okay to be humble. I'm not saying you have to be arrogant. But in your mind, are you recognizing what you have done? All of you are here today. Each of you have created either a professional practice or are working professionals. You are adding value every day at work. You've achieved something. How proud are you about yourself? It's very important. So I want to just leave some themes here, saying that, these are all self-explanatory. Dare to dream. Don't be apologetic. Don't be apologetic to make progress. Don't feel apologetic if you go to your manager and ask for promotion. It happens very often with me when we have conversations, these year-end appraisal conversations. The guys who come in, and again, I'm not stereotyping, but this is more empirical. The guys who come in, they will ask me what is going to be my salary hike, and what is going to be my next promotion, when is it coming. The girls who come in will ask, what are my areas of improvement, how can I be better? Every time. And I do these conversations alternatively, and every time I see this, I have maybe 5% of the women who come to me who have asked me, saying, when am I getting promoted next? Only 5%. 70% of the men who come into my cabin ask me, when am I getting promoted next? That's the difference. We cannot be apologetic to ask what we deserve. And the other aspect is our ambition is defined by who we believe we can reach, not what others think. Many times we believe our ambition has to be set within the context of our family, our environment, what our in-laws think, what our spouse thinks, what our boss thinks, what our neighbor thinks. No, you think what you want. And you please reach out for it. And I'm sounding like a little more professorial here, but really it is true. You have to ask, you have to dream, you have to decide what you want, and you have to go for it. And finally, there are sacrifices to be made. Nothing comes in life without sacrifices. So if we think, we can have it all, nobody can have it all. No one can have it all. All of us make sacrifices. And sometimes those sacrifices can be killing. So there was this time where, normally what happens is that when me and my spouse, we travel alternatively. We don't travel together. And he was in the US and I had some very urgent meeting in Singapore. And I just couldn't avoid. And then I took that, I asked him in it, and I called my mom from Bangalore to come here, stay with my in-laws so that they are not alone. And I went to Singapore. And that night, my father-in-law had a stroke. And they were these two old people, my mother-in-law and my mom, both 60 plus, cannot speak Kannada, cannot speak English also properly, trying to get him into a hospital, get him admitted, get him cured. It took me, I think, 8 hours to come back take the next flight, go some 3 places, come back from Singapore to Bangalore. But by that time, I think we lost the golden hour and he didn't survive. That guilt stays with me to date. I don't know what, sometimes they say fate, but I think I many times feel if I was there, maybe I'd have taken him to the hospital at the right time. I'd have at least been able to take care of him better than, what my mother-in-law and my mother could manage at that point in time. And that guilt has killed me. And these are sacrifices you keep making along your life. And it's, you're never going to be guilt-free in life. But it is important that you have to move forward. You have to build yourself as well. And it's not just me. My spouse carries that guilt as well because he was traveling too. But it bothers me more. It hurts me more, and we carry all those energies in our mind. So are we able to still move forward is the question for us. Now, finally, I want to, this again, it's still snooze time because I've spoken about this in every forum I speak, but this is something that always stays with me, which is A greater than R. This is given to me by Nitin Paranjpe, who used to be the chairman of HUL. And he says that for a difference between a leader and a manager is that for a leader, the ambition is always greater than resource. More so for us. Many times we don't have the necessary resources to reach our ambition, but are we really able to work with those resources and reach our ambition? ISRO made the Chandrayaan at the cost lesser than Interstellar movie, So that is A greater than R. Are we able to bring that A greater than R spirit in everything we do? Now, the next part is standing tall and leaning in. Now, standing tall, we spoke about this, speaking your mind, asking what you deserve. Many meetings I see that when there are, say, 5 people in the meeting, the 5th person to speak will be the woman in the meeting. Because they feel that let all the men speak and then I will voice my point of view. It's okay. I mean, there is no order in this. But is it coming from a point of patience or, let them complete their blabber and then let me come to something meaningful? No. Not like that. Sorry, he is giving me that look. No, I didn't mean that way. But but most of the time it comes from a point of confidence. You don't feel confident to speak up. Most of the time in conferences like this, even today morning I was observing, the last 3 tables got filled up first. Then that person there was sending them saying, go sit in the front. So people who are sitting in the second row are people who came towards the end. Am I correct? So we don't feel that we can stand up and stand out and speak up. And it's something we have to think about. It's also important to take risks. Not everything comes if you want to maintain that sense of balance and have that steadiness. Sometimes you have to take on roles which are not so. Once I took a role of facility management. I did, building a facility from color of carpets to, the paint on the wall. And because I thought if I be a finance partner for that role, then I will only be counting numbers. But if I can really jump in and see how they are executing that project, then I learn something. So it was one of the most valuable projects till date. Similarly, in one project, that time this story also I have said before, my baby was a colic baby and he used to keep crying, in the night. So I had that me time because if you put him down, he'll start crying. And so, I used to always keep him on my shoulder and keep sitting. So he's just doing nothing. So I started reading IT. So, and then I took a role in technology. And I did IT build for a couple of years. Then I came back to finance because I wanted to be a finance professional always. But then that role in IT till today has been the biggest differentiator for me. Whenever I'm having, because as we know, technology today is, really the future. But it's the biggest differentiator. And that was again risk. I could have completely failed taking on an IT role. But and these are just small examples. But risk taking is important. That is what gives you that ability to step outside your comfort zone and do things. And finally, seek what you deserve. We spoke about it. Now, the other aspect is success and likability. Now, in this, this is from Lenin. The concept is from Lenin. So this was an experiment that Columbia Business School ran. They took a case study of this entrepreneur called Hedy Roizen. Okay, and the case was that he was a very outgoing personality in network, successful, doing really well, that typical investment banker they show in the movies and all. So they gave one half of the case study with the name Hedy to half the class, and they gave the other half of the case study with the name Howard, same case study, to the other half of the class. Finally, Howard was quoted to be a likable, appealing colleague. Hedy was quoted to be selfish, Same case study. Same people. They said, we won't hire her for work. That's because that's all very, this is real life case study, and it's not, and he's a real person. And that is because many times it is not likable if you speak your mind. He gave me that look, you saw that? It is not likable sometimes. But, that's how you change the world. People will start accepting that there is a certain value you bring to the table. And that does not mean that you have to be aggressive. You have to be yourself. What women bring to the table is that gentle feather touch to things. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be, have to be shouting or, things like that. You don't have to be. But while being yourself, you don't have to necessarily be likable by everyone. You have to be successful. And most of the time, more often than not, because inherently women are kind and nice and, in general likable. The likability is not a challenge unless when you start giving, changing the course of what is being done. If you are just maintaining what is being maintained, nobody will have a problem. But let's say the business has taken a decision to make a certain investment and you put your foot down saying, this investment is not making sense. I am not going to approve this investment. I'm not going to support this investment. That's when the likability starts playing. And then, if you want to be successful, you have to get your business to be successful, make the right decisions. You have to find the right way of saying it, but you have to say it. Asking for help, very important. You cannot do it by yourself. Whatever help you can get, you have to ask. And finally, this is a story of finding your balloon. I think I'm very close to my time, so I will skip this story for now. I want to complete my deck. But this is available in my Shivabhogam lecture, which is available on my LinkedIn page, so you can go read that story there. I want to go to the next role model, which is Arundhati Bhattacharya. She is now the chairperson of Salesforce. After retiring from SBI, she got picked up as the chairperson of a large tech company. Can you imagine? That is, real true entrepreneurship. And, when she came into SBI, she transitioned SBI from that state-owned lender to a digital enterprise. And if you see her journey, and you should read up about it, it wasn't easy. There were so many resistances. She built consensus. She brought people together. And today, SBI has transformed significantly as a consumer-friendly bank. But what I I had the privilege of, having a breakfast meeting with her a few months back. And then she said that, she got a 2-year sabbatical leave policy. She bought temporary deputation. She bought flexible timings. None of it we know. We think it's some government bank. But she changed the working culture for women in SBI. And very subtly, it was not some big grandeur saying, I'm launching some big women-centric policy. But slowly, she made the bank move to appreciate that there are certain situations where women need that little support, and she stretched out to help. So, that's what, if you as an entrepreneur, that's the difference you can make as you progress in your career. Now, this brings to the softer aspects. Now, I'm calling ourselves finpreneur because we're going to be entrepreneur and we're going to be financial professionals. We all have formal accounting qualifications. Today, it's considered premium. All of us are premium people, available to a few. Tomorrow, it'll be table stakes. ChatGPT will do your Ind AS interpretation. I think, the IFRS, and we'll all try hard to make it as complex as possible. But ChatGPT will learn. So your accounting qualification will only take us so far. Financial reporting today is technical competence. Tomorrow, financial reporting has to be solution to business problems. I'm not talking about creative accounting here. I'm talking about how do you enable accounting to solve business problems. Like that example of the cost accountant I spoke about. She handed over to me a problem I didn't even know I had to solve. So, those are the things that people will look forward from professionals tomorrow. Today, knowledge of IT systems, most of us think that if I can use an ERP, I can get people to use the ERP, I can close my books, I am done, I'm IT savvy. Tomorrow, that's not how it is going to be. You have to be able to make choices of solution, finding problems to solve, and using IT to create business value. So that is the skill we'll have to develop to be entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Today, analytics is about bringing structure to data. Tomorrow, analytics will be about assimilating, understanding large unstructured data. We think today a lot of the P&L is managed if we know what are the costs, what are the revenue. That's not how it is going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow, a lot of our P&L drivers are going to sit outside the financials. How are your customers receiving your product? Today, if you look at startups, they make these 200, page presentation. One will be on finance, which will be many times deep red. All the other extremely green slides, 199 slides, will be business KPIs. Now that's and I'm not talking about creativity there, but I'm talking about bringing that level of understanding of the business, so you are able to present the reality of the business in a way that you are able to convince a stakeholder that why you should be invested in. So those are examples of analytics where you will have to develop those skills. Problem solving today is intellect. Tomorrow will be mindset. Are we able to solve problems? Digital mindset. Mindset will be the problem-solving tool for tomorrow. Communication today is about articulating, being able to understand, clear, communicating in a concise way. Tomorrow is about building meaningful stories, communicating insights, telling people why they need to do something. It's a very different skill we need to develop. Our interpersonal skills today is about building connections, networking, making friends. Tomorrow it's about collaboration and co-creation. You will not just have to collaborate with people inside your organization, but you have to collaborate with people in the entire environment. You have to collaborate with the government officials. You have to collaborate with the vendors, with the customers. How are you able to collaborate and co-create value? Now finally, management experience today is application of competency. Tomorrow it will be at the intersection of competency and creativity. And who are the most creative people typically? Women. So we are naturally well placed to win in this world, but we can only win if we change our mindset, identify our superpowers. Now, there are softer aspects of leadership, candor, honesty, culture, communication. I don't want to take too much time on this slide because there are many softer aspects and each one have to discover your relevant softer aspects for yourself. But please don't think that if you are a Ind AS expert, or if you've cracked every single notification in GST, or if you have figured out income tax, in Tamil they say karchi kurchu, like that, if you have done that, it is not enough. For you to be successful, it is about the softer skills. As you go higher and higher and higher, if I write the CA exam today, I will fail miserably. In fact, they'll disqualify me for the next attempt. Because you don't really need so much technical competence. You need soft skills. You need to be able to lead with soft skills. So identify the soft skills that are relevant for your domain. I feel for a leader, for an entrepreneur, candor, honesty, culture. And the reason I talk about candor and honesty is that many times I feel that women don't speak honestly when someone is not performing. So if somebody in the team is not performing, we never sit them across and we give feedback saying these are the areas you're not performing. But we are collective expression of what our team delivers. And if we don't have the courage and confidence to sit your people and tell them, and you're doing a favor on them by telling them that they need to improve, these are the areas they need to work on, and you will help them work with them and take responsibility for their progress. If you're not doing that, many times you know what help the person needs, but many times we don't speak up. So if you want to be leaders, if you want to be entrepreneurs, we have to speak up with candor, with honesty. We have to create a culture of transparency and a culture of open communication, and that's when we can lead. Now, this is my final inspiration, which is Radhika. Radhika Gupta, I think many people have read her story. When she was, I think, 23 years old or 26 years old, she actually was rejected for some 7 jobs. She was on the verge of committing suicide, and she had to be treated in a psych ward. Now, from there, she got onto a job in McKinsey. And from then she started her own company. That company got bought out by Edelweiss. And then when the CEO position for Edelweiss opened up, she put her hands up and applied. And she became the youngest CEO at the age of 33. And you should read her, you should follow her on LinkedIn. Very, very inspiring posts she posts. And, she has, the thing that I kind of, I've called out here is that having a real ambition, That I would encourage in all people, especially women, to think about aspiration. They need to be up there. Once you got that place, you need to go out there and be at it. That's very important. And of course, she also, calls herself the girl with the broken eye and the broken neck and the squinted eye. But she says accepting myself for who I am and putting myself up there is what really is my story to success. So with that, I have some closing thoughts, and then I will end with a small video. Now, you cannot become an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur when you become that final day of your, you get that post. Every day, from the day you start your career, the day you pass your chartered accountancy, even before that, you have to live that spirit. Here again, I want to have one small story. There used to be one security guy when I used to work in an organization at that time, and this was a shared services. I was seconded to that company from Levers for 2 years, and I was working there, and this guy used to be at the security. And he was 8th standard pass. Name was Basha. And he, had so much interest in learning. At some point in time, he started observing people doing transaction processing. That is what BPOs do. So, and then he learned saying that this is not such a rocket science. Okay, then he came to me and he said, will you give me an opportunity to do transaction processing? So we told him, because there is somebody who's verifying, so we will give him that opportunity to process invoices. He used to be my best processor. He had the highest accuracy. He had used to do the largest volume. And really, he was my best performer. But then after that, we could not promote him because he was only 8th standard pass. So then we told him, you take a break, go study and come back. Have an educational qualification, and then you build your career. Now, I don't know where Basha is, but that entrepreneurship spirit that he had on that day, I know he would be somewhere today. The other piece is that, we have spoken about this and I've kept repeating it. Your journey will be difficult, but you have to soldier on. And my final point is that the most important part of accomplishing something is to give back, to bring other women back to work, to make it work for them, to make other women entrepreneurs, to give them that opportunity. And I'm not saying that for that you compromise on work objectives. In fact, you should push women more because you want them to be better, but push them with context. Give them the flexibility that they need, but give them the exposure that they need. Give them the experience that they need. Make them better leaders. And with that, I want to leave you with a video. And I think I am exactly on time. The video is 2 minutes.
Known for the outstanding company she keeps, the brilliant... I can't search for video.
Can you help me get this video up on the screen?
Yeah. Management of truly global.
Can you get this video up on screen? Yeah, it's come.
Living legend, Indra Nui.
I was born in a great democracy. I live in another great democracy. Indians are capable of an enormous amount, and I think accelerating investments in infrastructure would be my #1 priority. Any CEO has to be big enough, brave enough, bold enough to face the critics. And personally, I'm ready for all of these fights.
Mr. President and NDTV, thank you very much for this incredible honor. Malcolm Gladwell in his book, The Outliers, said, "Who you are cannot be separated from where you came from." I left India 35 years ago, went on to the United States, and we had tremendous success in that meritocracy. But none of that could have happened if I hadn't had a wonderful upbringing very much here in India. So I have a lot to thank India for. Now my 3 lessons I'd like to share with you. First, please be a lifelong student. You know, when we are kids, we ask questions like, why is the sky blue? Why is the bird flying so high? But for some reason, as we get older, that curiosity goes away. And if we are happy with the knowledge we have, then we are actually going to atrophy. So please remain a lifelong student. Don't lose that curiosity. Second, whatever you do, throw yourself into it. Throw your head, heart, and hands into it. I look at my job not as a job. I look at it as a calling, as a passion. And I don't care about the hours. I don't care about the hardship, because to me, everything is a joy. So whatever you do, please look upon it as a calling and a passion, not as a job, not as something temporary. The third and the most important one, please help others rise. Greatness comes not from a position, but from helping build the future. All of us in positions of power have an obligation to pull others up. You know, as I stand here today, I look at my responsibility not as accepting an honor. I look upon it as accepting a challenge and a responsibility, an obligation to actually make it possible for the people who are younger to come up and achieve levels of greatness so they too can be on the stage sometime in the future. So thank you again, NDTV, for this incredible honor. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, the video didn't play, but I think the audio was good. Sometimes audio is better because it allows you to focus. When the video is there, you get distracted. So, you know, not everything works your way. This was the best example. But we can still deliver the same impact. With that, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. This was wonderful catching up with all of you, talking to all of you. And I feel very energized leaving this room today. Thank you.
What a mesmerizing session it was. Everything she mentioned made us resonate with ourselves and think about it. I think she has left us with a lot of food for introspection. And I think this will definitely go along with us for a long time. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming over and then doing this session for us. On behalf of Bengaluru branch, we express deep gratitude for you to take up this and do this. We have a small memento to hand over to you.